morning. So, on the theme of love your neighbor, as many of you know, one of the things that we've done each winter so far, sorry that we do it to you in the winter, but as we approach the religious holidays and then come out of the religious holidays, I invite a number of local faith leaders to come and talk about what does love your neighbor mean within your faith tradition or in these fractured times. What can love your neighbor mean? How should it motivate people? Because really, we are not about politics here. We are not about religion here. We are about how should one person treat another? How should one group treat another group? That's what we're about. We're about the communication of those kinds of values. So, for the 7th in our series of 2024-2025 Love Your Neighbor local faith leaders, I'm pleased to introduce with his presentation called Loving Your Neighbor as a Form of Resistance, please welcome Reverend Jeff Lukens of the South Britain Congregational Church.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah. Oh, it is a good day to be out in the sun after the winter we've had. Now, I don't have to tell you, as we've already talked about, that we're living in a country where division and injustice seem to be the defining features of our time. White Christian nationalism, systemic racism, economic inequality, human-caused climate change, violence against queer and transgender people all fill our headlines. In many churches across the U.S. today, they heard Jesus' command to love your enemies and do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you and pray for those who mistreat you. This statement is as radical today as it was in the first century. The love Jesus is talking about is not a passive love. It is a resistance to empire kind of love. For those of us coming from a progressive Christian tradition, and for those of us from different faiths or ethical traditions, we recognize that love is not just a feeling. It is an action. And when we love in the face of hatred, when we choose compassion over apathy, when we stand up for justice in a system designed to favor the powerful, we are engaging in a sacred act of resistance. This command to love your enemies is found in the Gospel of Luke as a part of the Sermon on the Plain, a section of his teaching Jesus' teaching that turns the expectations of the world upside down. Love your enemies. It's not a call to be naive. Jesus was speaking to people under Roman occupation. He was speaking to the oppressed, the marginalized, those who have been exploited and cast out. His words were not about personal kindness. They were about a new way of being in the world, a way that resists the cycles of violence and hate. When Jesus tells us to love, he's not calling us to mere sentimentality. He's calling us to action. In a world where walls are built, both physical and metaphorical, to keep people apart, loving our neighbor means tearing down those walls. It means refusing to participate in systems that oppress others. It means creating communities and movements where everybody belongs, where dignity is not just a word, but a lived reality. In just the last 33 days, we have seen an onslaught of policies and executive orders from the new administration that fly in the face of peace, love, and justice. Mass deportations, concentration camps, eliminating humanitarian aid, and policies that seek to erase the existence of our queer and trans neighbors, just to name a few of the horrible things coming out of Washington. In times like these, loving our neighbors is not just a personal virtue. It is an act of defiance against hatred and exclusion. When we welcome refugees despite policies that seek to shut them out, we are resisting fear. When we affirm the dignity of LGBTQ+ people Despite laws that seek to erase them, we are resisting injustice. When we fight for racial justice in the face of systemic oppression, we are resisting white supremacy. When we care for the planet and advocate for climate justice, we are resisting greed and exploitation. The love that Jesus calls us to is not an abstract idea. It's a daily practice that challenges injustice at every turn. And loving our neighbor, that's not just a Christian concept. Across all religions and ethical traditions, we find the command to care for the stranger, to seek justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with the divine. In Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, teaches, none of you truly believes until he loves his brother what he loves for himself. In Judaism, the Torah commands, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And in Buddhism, the principle of loving kindness calls us to extend compassion to all beings. This is why interfaith movements have always been at the heart of social justice work. When communities join together to resist injustice, whether by protesting for racial justice, sheltering immigrants, advocating for peace, we embody God's vision for humanity. We know that loving your neighbor as an act of resistance is not easy. It often comes with risk. Speaking up for justice can lead to rejection. Extending kindness to those who are hated make us targets ourselves. Choosing love over apathy, it can be exhausting. You don't have to doom scroll all the time. But Jesus reminds us, give and it will be given to you. A good measure pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. The reward of love is not always material, but it's transformative. When we love, we build something eternal, a world that reflects God's justice, mercy, and grace. So as we continue to show up and to fight for justice, especially as the institutions we counted on to join us in the fight are failing us, let us remember to always choose love, that active force that resists injustice and oppression. Let us love our neighbor by standing up for their dignity. Let us love our enemies by refusing to return hate for hate. And let us love our community by working for justice and peace and reconciliation. In a time when fear and division and they threaten to define us, love remains our greatest act of resistance. So may we be bold enough to live it. Thank you.
Yeah! Woo! Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you so much. You're welcome.